Mayfield, this is really, really serious. Now is your time to get to shelter. Do not wait any longer. If you live in a mobile home in Mayfield, you have to get out of it. Unfortunately, we have likely a catastrophic tornado that is in Mayfield right now. Lives are being changed right now. Send some prayers for folks that are dealing with this right now.
They literally saved our life. If it weren't for technology, we would not be here today.
A night no one will forget. It's been exactly 1 year since deadly tornadoes ripped through the area, leaving behind a path of destruction, killing dozens.
We're still far from things being normal again.
It's also been a year of rebuilding and healing, clearing debris and starting the rebuilding process.
I've lived in the middle of all of the recovery and then all of the tearing down and destruction of all of these buildings, all these landmarks that I've known all my life. And it just really grates on you.
But communities remain resilient.
I think one of the biggest lessons that we learned December 10th is how big the heart is.
Before December 10th, many of you knew what this community was made of. Neighbor helping neighbor. In the days that followed, people locally and across the nation joined hands in efforts to clean up and rebuild.
Damage from the storm is still on full display today. Historic buildings in downtown Mayfield, for example, are gone, severely damaged by the tornado in a matter of minutes.
That storm spawned 3 different tornadoes in our area, and Noah, Kaylee, and myself were here warning you about the danger and keeping you updated on the path of the storm.
And tonight, a look at where recovery efforts stand and what's next for these communities, along with a recap of that night.
But first, the storm system made national headlines. Donations poured in from across the country to help tornado victims.
President Biden toured the damage for himself 5 days after the tornado and pledged the support of the federal government. He also boarded Marine One to tour the damage from the air, starting in Mayfield.
Once on the ground, he met with emergency officials for a closer look at the devastation. From Mayfield to Dawson Springs to meet with storm survivors, offering hugs and words of support.
To all the families here, keep the faith. We're going to get this done. I promise you. The governor's not walking away, your county judge is not walking away, your congressman's not walking away, no one's walking away. We're in this for the long haul.
The president made that pledge almost a year ago. Tonight, we'll look at where the hardest hit communities stand and how much funding they've received from the federal government.
Before that, we're going to send it over to Chief Meteorologist Trent Okerson and Meteorologist Noah Berggren for a recap of that night.
The historic tornado outbreak on December 10th and 11th last year was the deadliest December outbreak in U.S. history. More than 90 people died across 6 states.
And more than 80 of those deaths were in Kentucky alone, making it the deadliest tornado in state history.
We tracked the longest and most violent tornadoes of the outbreak right here across the Local 6 area that night. That includes the Western Kentucky tornado. It had estimated peak winds up to 190 miles per hour in Mayfield and at times a path over 1 mile wide. Its continuous track of 165.7 miles was the 9th longest in modern history and was the longest single tornado in 46 years. That tornado followed a separate 80.3 mile path on a tornado that developed in Arkansas and moved into Tennessee. If not for a short break in the track over Obion County, this tornado may have surpassed the 1925 tri-state tornado as the longest in U.S. history.
We had been tracking the potential for dangerous storms for several days leading up to that night. Cold air slammed into an area of record warmth and humidity streaming into the region from the Gulf of Mexico, setting the stage for what would be a violent night of storms. And this led to our area being in the bullseye for a rare level 4 out of 5 moderate risk for severe storms, only the 6th level 4 risk we've seen in more than a decade. The first tornado touchdown was in Arkansas at 7:06 p.m., tracking into the Missouri boot heel shortly thereafter. By 7:48 p.m., we were already putting West Kentucky on alert. This is kind of the long-range path. At 7:56, the tornado just north of Steele, Missouri, produced EF2 damage with 131 mile-per-hour winds. It then crossed the Mississippi River around 8:15 p.m., with a tug captain capturing this remarkable image of the tornado from the Bolts radar near Caruthersville. At 8:32, the tornado strengthened into a violent EF4 and destroyed the Cypress Point Resort along Reelfoot Lake. Just 3 minutes later, the tornado made a direct hit in Sandburg, Tennessee, as an EF2, flattening homes and businesses. The tornado then dissipated a minute later.
Western Kentucky was next in line with a 2-hour, 58-minute path of destruction ahead. The tornado touched down just south of the state line at 8:49 and quickly became a monster.
There are no more words that we can tell you. This is the highest end of highest end tornado.
At 9:01, the tornado plowed into Casey, Kentucky, with winds up to 170 miles per hour. Tornado warnings were then issued for Graves and Marshall counties at 9:05 p.m., 22 minutes before it hit Mayfield. But listen, Mayfield, this is really, really serious. Around 9:18, the tornado entered into Graves County, nearly a mile wide as it raced near Interstate 69. This is the storm that we're going to be talking about for years in our area, okay? At 9:25, the tornado entered the southwest side of Mayfield, where it slammed into the Mayfield Consumer Products candle factory. Then, at 9:27, the catastrophic tornado destroyed historic downtown Mayfield, with winds up to 190 miles per hour. The damage was indescribable. Debris was hurled up to 30,000 feet into the air. Send some prayers to Mayfield right now.
After devastating Mayfield, the tornado headed towards Marshall County, and as it approached Benton, it took a last-minute turn with the worst of the storm hitting just north of town. It was now at 9:46 p.m. The Lakes area was up next. The tornado devastated the Cambridge Shores community at 9:57 p.m. Winds recorded there 170 miles per hour, which leveled dozens of lakeside homes with EF4 level damage.
After crossing the lakes, the tornado moved into Caldwell County. Well, it comes up 293, that's over toward the Princeton Golf Club. It hit just southwest of Princeton at 10:18. Multiple homes were flattened near the country club. 14 minutes later, Dawson Springs took a direct hit. Hundreds of homes were destroyed with winds up to 180 miles per hour. From there, the storm stayed on the ground another hour and 15 minutes before finally lifting in central Kentucky at 11:47 p.m.
As the Kentucky tornado moved out of our area, another tornado developed, this one in West Tennessee, touching down near New Bern at 10:35 p.m. It caused EF3 damage just south of Kenton at 10:49 and caused damage just north of Sharon, Tennessee. This tornado then continued to plow northeastward and hit yet another town in our area head on. This one was Dresden at 11:07. Multiple homes and buildings in the middle of town were completely destroyed. Over an hour later at 12:35, this tornado would lift after a path of 122.7 miles. As the tornadoes moved out, we were finally getting our first look at the devastation. Jack Kane was among the first to arrive in Mayfield.
This is just some of the damage we're seeing out here, and I can't emphasize enough, this is not even the tip of the iceberg.
After nearly 5 hours of wall-to-wall coverage, we were able to sign off. It's been a night that we will not forget for a long time. Many lives have been impacted tonight, and so we want to send our thoughts and prayers to all the folks here that have dealt with just a really bad night. But we're strong around here, and we're going to get through it. We'll help each other out.
Thanks to Trent and Noah. Mayfield was one of the hardest hit areas from that storm.
Next, we return to Mayfield 1 year later to look at the ongoing recovery efforts.
Things are very crazy here at the moment. We've seen just several people walking around trying to just find where their home is. There's no lights on apart from our camera light right now and places that have generators. So people are kind of just walking around aimlessly at the moment. Guys, like I mentioned, things are pretty bad here right now. That's just the God honest truth.
That's Local 6's Jack Kane. Jack and photojournalist Justin Jones were in Mayfield shortly after the tornado hit.
When they arrived, the city had no power, hardly any cell service, and people were just starting to get a glimpse of the damage. A year later, Jack returned to Mayfield for an update on where recovery efforts stand.
A year ago today, I was standing right here in front of Fire Station 1, seeing the impact of the December 10th tornado in real time. Station 1 was severely damaged and now isn't even here anymore. And a stroll through the rest of Mayfield looks completely different a year later. Landmarks like the Graves County Courthouse, which have stood in this community for decades, are now no longer here and have even been replaced by some new ones. From one side of town to the other, what's now just a concrete slab used to be Mayfield Consumer Products, and that night it was directly in the tornado's path. More than 100 people were trapped under debris when the building was hit. John Lawson was one of them.
We just wanted to make it home.
Lawson says in the rubble, he was near Graves County Deputy Jailer Robert Daniel, who passed away in the debris.
I would like to give his mom a hug, you know, something that I would hope that he would do for me.
Lawson and his family moved away from Mayfield to Katie's. A year removed from the tornado, he's finally set to have shoulder surgery after being injured by the candle factory collapsing. He's also part of the class action lawsuit against Mayfield Consumer Products, claiming employees were told they couldn't leave the night of the storm.
I'm hoping that nobody else has to, their family never has to go through this again. Maybe some companies out there that think their products just has to be out there. Maybe the next severe weather, they'll get to go send their people home.
Amos Jones, a DC-based attorney, is part of the legal team representing the former candle factory employees in the lawsuit.
People should not have been made to come to work and certainly shouldn't have been held there the way they were.
Jones says this fight is personal for him since he has family ties to Kentucky. He wants to see his clients get the justice he feels they deserve.
People have loss of feeling, limbs, in terms of their capacity and functionality. A lot of people, as you could imagine, have post-traumatic stress disorder and need counseling still.
For Daryl Johnson, the tornado took something he can never get back, his sister Janine. She was also working in the candle factory on December 10th, 2021.
I can't have another sister. I can't have another sister. But everything that you lost, vehicles, clothing, and everything, there were donations out there. There was nobody out there to donate me another sister.
Johnson spent December 11th searching for Janine and waiting to hear where she might be, but later learned she'd passed away.
MCP never, ever has reached out to me. Somewhere along the lines, I know I had to be on her emergency contact list. But no one from that company had ever reached out to me and said, I'm sorry for your loss, or anything like that.
As he works to carry on her memory, Johnson has a message for his sister.
I would say, I'm sorry I didn't tell you I loved you enough.
The tornado shook the Mayfield community to its core. In mere moments, lives were changed forever. Now the effort is focused on rebuilding the Pearl of the Purchase. And that's where the Graves County Long-Term Recovery Group steps in.
We traded water bottles for 2x4s. Right now, we're in the rebuilding stage, and there's a lot of construction needs. There's a lot of repair needs as well that still exist.
The LTRG has hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of building materials, which they can send out to groups working to rebuild homes. But sometimes the little things mean more.
They don't have $1,000 or $2,000, $3,000 to go out and buy all new pots and pans, bedding, all that sort of stuff, food that you need to kind of fill your home and feel like you're home. So we're here to kind of bridge that gap as well, and we've got those supplies available.
Former candle factory employee Kay Houston is just one example of the mark the storm left on the people in Mayfield.
Of losing job, friends and family, you name it. It's just a life-changing event.
She also lost her home in the storm and decided to ask the Long-Term Recovery Group for help.
I lost my vehicle, so they have helped me with that, and that gave me mobility to go and find jobs and to get help. They've had other resources help me pay bills, get furniture and get clothes and get food and all that.
Now that she's back on her feet, Houston is working to help other tornado survivors with Camp Graves.
I know the tornado destroyed a community, but it also has made them stronger.
Mayor Kathy Onan says the tornado highlighted something that's ingrained into the people of Mayfield.
The world now knows what we've always been. We're just resilient people. Maybe we're hard-headed, but whatever it is, it's worked.
Streets once lined with debris and downed power lines are back open again. Buildings twisted and torn by the storm come down to make way for new opportunities. And most of all, the people in the community remain strong.
These people in Mayfield and Graves County are very special people. They are resilient beyond anything I've ever seen in my life. They are helpful. They are loving and caring for their neighbor. And we saw that the minute the tornado blew out of Graves County.
With the darkest day having passed, they're looking toward a bright future.
I hope that by spring you hear a lot of hammers going in Mayfield. I hope that's all you can hear. We are blessed. We're very blessed that we're not alone in this at all.
Oh, that's sweet. Be grateful that you have life, that you're still here. I mean, I try to tell them all the time, grateful, be grateful, be grateful.
It's a message that mother continues to tell her children after they survived the deadly tornado that hit Mayfield 1 year ago today.
We first introduced you to the Biggers family a few days after the storm as they dodged debris for a game of street basketball. They were resilient then.
And as Local 6's Brandon Clark shows us, they're even more so now.
You missed it! You missed it!
Same game.
Hey, you! On the free throw line!
Different backdrop.
Miss it! Miss it!
New year.
Bucket!
Tell me what the plan was again.
So, I'm gonna be over there. I'm gonna fake shoot.
That's Zayla Biggers.
Keep on recording. Then I'm gonna go over there, I'm gonna shoot, and you're gonna record that. Then I'm gonna go back over there.
Okay.
Okay.
Obviously, she's no stranger to the camera.
Ready?
We first saw Zayla and her sisters making baskets on TV 1 year ago after the tornado ripped through their community.
I'm strong.
She's Mayfield's future and refuses to let Mother Nature scare her away. That was then,
Yes,
and she still feels that way now.
that's what you get. Taylor.
So what has changed? Pretty much everything around them.
That's something that we could not see before the tornado.
The historic Hall Hotel.
We hear them over here banging, getting these buildings and stuff together.
To the right, Mayfield's new water tower. Remember what it looked like last time we were here?
I'm like, do y'all not understand? Like, when y'all get older, this is something that y'all will remember and hopefully never forget.
Mama, mama!
And I tell them all the time to be grateful for what they have.
Hey, you! On the free throw line! Miss it! Miss it!
What's keeping you so strong?
Them.
The hooligans. My sisters. Cheese.
It's something that they've seen, that they lived through.
Miss it! Miss it!
You know, when they have kids, maybe they can tell their kids about it and tell them how they lived through a tornado.
In the Cambridge Shores subdivision of Marshall County, there are haunting reminders of the devastation created on December 10th of last year. Empty foundations, snapped trees spread across the landscape, and signs that some who once called this area home are ready to leave altogether. But look closer and there are signs of recovery. New homes under construction, work crews making progress, equipment and supplies sitting and ready.
We've made progress, and we've made good progress, but we're not done yet.
Marshall County Parks Director Brittany Hargrove was thrust into the position of county spokesperson in the immediate aftermath of the tornadoes.
Having to think outside the box on communication methods when so many people didn't have cell service, internet service, TV access, or anything really. It really forced us to kind of think on our feet and think quickly and figure out how to get the word out. And I think that was probably one of the most immediate challenges that we faced.
A challenge she and others overcame over time, along with navigating the complexities of FEMA, other government agencies, nonprofits, and additional resources.
One of the biggest challenges we had was actually getting people to accept the help that we had. And I think that that speaks so much to the hearts of the people in the community. We had so much coming in and so much help being offered, and so many that were hesitant to take the help because they just assumed or thought somebody might need that more.
People willing to accept the help is something another agency also faced, the Marshall County Long-Term Recovery Group.
They want to help their brothers first.
Mark Sickling sits on the Long-Term Recovery Group Board of Directors.
One particular family that I dealt with personally told me no 3 times before they finally accepted a mission team to come in to help them.
The agency works with tornado survivors in the recovery process to get them the resources they need. To date, the agency has closed 400 cases, with 40 open cases right now. Sickling says there are likely more people who need help 1 year later, but have still not come forward.
Our survivors here in Marshall County are at different levels or different stages in their emotional recovery. Some are doing great. Some you would never know that they've been through this. We all process grief, we all process stress, we all process trauma differently.
FEMA estimated $7 million in damage in Marshall County. The federal agency paid out about $1.4 million to survivors.
That means about $5.5 million of what they called unmet needs is out there, meaning that after insurance payments, after government payments, the residents, our survivors, are going to have to come up with $5.5 million to restore them to where they were before the tornadoes.
Sickling says the important focus is staying the course in the face of obstacles.
And many are doing well, but others are still very frustrated, Todd. They're frustrated at the painful process of a slow process in the recovery. They're frustrated at their insurance company because the insurance company may be lowballing them or not wanting to take care of their needs. They're frustrated at their contractors or the fact that they can't even find a contractor because there's so much work to be done.
We're still far from things being normal again.
Brittany Hargrove says despite the learning curves and obstacles, people in Marshall County have been reminded of the successes that can be accomplished when working together.
I think that it's really opened our eyes to the beautiful things that can happen when you love on each other and take care of each other as a whole.
We continue to look at recovery efforts.
Up next, you'll hear from the Princeton mayor in his own words about the ongoing work in his city. 4 people died in Caldwell County, Kentucky when the tornado arrived and destroyed homes in Princeton, the county seat.
Princeton Mayor Cody Young recalls that day and the recovery process since in his own words.
We've been through a traumatic event. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat or downplay that, but it has been truly uplifting and heartwarming to see the way that this community has come together. We find ourselves very blessed in our recovery process. You know, our community was hit a little differently than some of our sister communities, which has allowed us to move a little quicker. The tornado went through a number of subdivisions to the south of our community, and by being in such a consolidated area, it allowed us to expedite the repair and recovery and the collection of debris and allow our constituents and neighbors and friends to start the rebuilding process that much faster. It's many and varied the needs that we found. You know, some individuals are already back in their newly built homes, some haven't broke ground yet. Even when they move into these homes, they've lost their entire lives. It's going to be the little things for years to come that you don't think of. You know, Christmas decorations and ornaments that they may have collected from their family members or picture frames. You know, it's just going to be the little mementos that makes a house a home. While the tunnel is still long, there is a light at the end of it, and we get a little bit closer each and every day. Our lives will not be like they were on December 9th, and we're going to have to start a new chapter. But I'm excited for that chapter. I'm excited to see what we can build and regrow together, and our best days are still to come here in Princeton.
19 people died in Dawson Springs after the tornado hit the town. This is video showing the aftermath of the damage. About 75% of the city was wiped out. You can see cars with blown out windows and filled with debris.
Countless downed trees, snapped tree limbs. There's also plenty of debris scattered around the area. Multiple homes and some businesses were damaged. Dawson Springs established this memorial that recognizes those in the community lost during the December 10th tornado. This is a photo of Governor Andy Beshear, who grew up in that community, and his wife Brittany taking a moment to remember those lives lost.
Beshear said, quote, "This memorial will honor the strength of all those who called Dawson Springs home and the love they have for each other." Since the tornado, Samaritan's Purse has stepped up to help rebuild homes. Ahead, the local woman, now a proud owner of one of them.
And I head to Tennessee, along the shores of Reelfoot Lake, where the tornado that hit Mayfield first took aim on Sandburg. A look at where the rebuilding efforts stand there.
We're back now, marking 1 year since deadly tornadoes ripped through our region. The same tornado that struck Mayfield first took aim on Sandburg, Tennessee and Casey, Kentucky. Both small towns took a direct hit.
I was there just days after the storm and saw for myself the incredible outpouring of outside support, but also the will of those communities to help themselves.
Lord, we dedicate this home to you right now, Lord, and we ask this in the name of Jesus. Amen. Amen.
It's a big day in the small town of Casey, Kentucky. Joanne West's new home is finally ready, and this,
oh mercy, look at here,
is her first look at it.
It's unbelievable.
Every inch is brand new.
I like this couch too. Yeah. Yes. It's a lazy boy.
All of it thanks to Samaritan's Purse.
When they started in, they didn't quit until today.
So that is the heart of Samaritan's Purse.
Tim Cottrell is the nonprofit's project superintendent over the Western Kentucky rebuild. He's come in with dozens of volunteers to help get tornado victims like Joanne back on their feet.
It's a ministry. It's not just building houses. We just try to love on them. Like Miss Joanne.
She's been through so much.
It's going near Casey.
1 year ago, December 10th, as our weather authority team tracked the storm, Joanne was watching with her family.
We heard the tornado coming, and I've always heard, because I've never heard a tornado before, but it sounded just like a train, and it sounded like it was rumbling on the tracks. You could, I mean, it was so vivid, you could just see it.
That tornado had already taken aim on the small town of Sandburg, Tennessee, 30 miles to the southwest. Police Chief Chris Cummings remembers the day well.
The mayor had instructed me to, if the tornado sirens go off, go around, warn people on the PA.
He did, street by street, likely as that tornado hit Cypress Point a few miles away. Then it barreled across Railfoot Lake, straight toward Sandburg. Fire Chief Ken Hawk took cover at the station in the bathroom. His department took a hit, mostly to the back of the building, which is fixed today. But that night, just outside.
When we opened the door, though, come out this door right here, we could hear people screaming and hollering right away. And we just literally walked across the street and started helping get people out of buildings.
I immediately got on the radio and might have hollered a little bit, letting the Obion County Sheriff's Department know, hey, we took a direct hit and I need people. And I told them, I said, start sending ambulances and you don't stop until I tell you.
Freddie Pruitt's been with the Obion County Rescue Squad more than 50 years.
And that's the only thing left standing is that fireplace right there now.
He was one of many who answered the call for help that night, initially to this campsite just outside town to search for survivors.
This is where they sent us to when we got to Sandburg, was this area here, because they knew it was hit major destruction. It was the end of fishing season and the start of duck season. And there was a lot of people in this area. The one gentleman, he was underneath the roof of his house later when we found him.
That man lost his life. Another man died here at Cypress Point, which still bears the scars of the tornado.
There used to be a gift shop.
Yeah.
There's the swimming pool over there. They were some beautiful cypress trees, and they'll never be back like they were, you know.
Maybe not. Still, today, two bald eagles made an appearance atop one of them, a sign that life perseveres. So too was this. In the days after the storm, donations by the truckloads and hundreds of volunteers pouring into Sandburg. We were here to see some of it. Chief Cummings says the cleanup began almost immediately.
This entire part of town was just absolutely filled with heavy equipment, track hoes, dump trucks, bobcats, you name it.
These tire marks really the only evidence of what was here at the baseball field in Sandburg. This area was hit hard by the tornado. The city decided to take it and use it to bring all the debris from the storm. A few weeks ago, they finally finished clearing it out.
We did it by ourselves. We had 2 or 3 city workers with tractors.
We burned what we could, the best we could, you know.
I guess that was a process that took months.
Oh, yeah, it took a long time.
Left behind empty fields and foundations where dozens of homes once stood.
Probably lost at least 50 houses.
Vice Mayor Grant Reed talked to me inside one of the trailers that serves as home base for City Hall and Public Works right now. The leadership team here knows there's a lot more to be done.
And now we're looking toward the future of trying to come up with where we're going to build our City Hall.
Are you proud of your town?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm proud of what they did, you know. And it's still here, boy.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so this house is almost complete, right?
Pretty close.
Back in Casey, another home will soon be completed by Habitat for Humanity, just in time for the holiday season.
Gotta feel good to almost have your house ready.
I'm ready to get back out here.
This is going to be the master bedroom.
Right.
And the master bathroom.
And this here is going to be closet, but it's also a tornado shelter.
When it was being framed up, I helped with the framing. I helped with what we call the subfloor.
Casey United Methodist pastor Jim Wolfgang is right in the thick of recovery in Casey. His church is just across the street, where he sheltered during the tornado.
One of our windows had been pulled in by the pressure, and then we had a very large hole, about 20-foot hole, torn out of the ceiling of our building.
His wife was next door in their home.
You just clung for dear life.
Prayed more than anything. I wasn't really scared, I just prayed.
This was a pile of debris.
Today, the church is fixed, the parsonage rebuilt. Wolfgang's helped lead the way for his church and for Casey, serving on the Fulton County Long-Term Recovery Team. Its members have worked to secure financing for projects like this.
And it's extremely generous, what we've been given from all over the country, these various agencies. You don't really feel too depressed for very long or overwhelmed because so many people come to build you up.
Joanne's an example of that goodwill doing good in Casey. She can't believe this is all hers.
The shutters, that's in memory of my mom. She loved red.
I'm going to be honest with you. The most touching part is the paid in full that's written in red. Can't beat that.
And on her front porch.
I've never had a front porch, and I'm going to enjoy this front porch. The volunteers went together and bought me a rocker.
Another sign that this is now home.
As for FEMA dollars, Sandburg Mayor John Glessner tells me $76,000 is guaranteed soon to reimburse them for debris removal. They filed for a lot more help, but have not yet been approved. Police Chief Cummings also says the city hopes to build a community storm shelter, possibly with help from FEMA. Also in Tennessee, the city of Dresden suffered a direct hit. The small community jumped into action. Storm experts told city leaders early in the process Dresden was recovering weeks ahead of schedule.
But as recovery continued, the progress slowed, causing frustration and driving a wedge through the tight-knit community. Local 6's Jasmine Youngblood shows us how Dresden is building back, one building and relationship at a time.
My ears popped, and then it hit, and it was very loud, very violent, and very fast. In about 10 seconds, it was over.
In an instant, every facet of Tom Revis's life changed. His home, his church, his business, all damaged in the December 10th storm.
So I've lived in the middle of all of the recovery, and then all of the tearing down and destruction of all of these buildings, all these landmarks that I've known all my life. And it just really grates on you.
As the dust settled and damage was assessed, Revis & Sons, Dresden's oldest business, stayed business as usual, trying to maintain some normalcy.
So it got a little interesting, of course, but we still processed all of our orders.
One package after another. Former Dresden Mayor Jeff Washburn says it's resiliency like this that helped Dresden bounce back.
When I woke up on December the 11th, it was total destruction. And I had no idea that we could recover this quickly.
Debris has been cleared, rebuilding underway, and plans are in motion to keep the process moving forward.
We're going to have the fire department, police department, city hall constructed possibly beginning in 2 or 3 months. You're going to see some work starting toward that.
New Dresden Mayor Mark Maddox is taking up the mantle, continuing the plans and securing $100,000 in funding to help make it happen.
I secure a grant that is going to help some of the facades of the businesses downtown.
It's bigger than rebuilding homes and businesses. Tornado recovery has been stressful, dividing their community. Maddox says it's time to bridge that gap.
City aldermen, city employees, and citizens of this town to come together again, like we did in the first 5 days.
A united front, even stronger than they were more than a year ago.
To push forward and be a better Dresden. I've lived in this town except for about 9 years of my entire life. I know what it was like before. I know what it can be again.
and the emotional journey towards healing also continues. Revis says he sees how his neighbors still hurt. Focusing on day-to-day operations at the store has helped him cope.
I've weathered it because I didn't really have a choice. You know, that's kind of the way I've always, you know, you just deal with the situation at hand and you move on.
Revis believes there will come a day when the town he's known all his life will look like home again. Different than before, but home nonetheless.
There's going to be a bright side to it. Dresden will be okay.
The Weakley County Long-Term Recovery Group partnered with Operation Christmas Ornaments from near and far to provide Christmas ornaments to survivors. At the Recovery Commemoration Tree Lighting Ceremony today, survivors hung their ornaments on the tree as a sign of remembrance and celebration of community unity. Chief Meteorologist Trent Hogerson talked to students in Mayfield the day before the deadly tornado.
He got the chance to go back and visit with some of those students and staff members. We'll be back with that in 2 minutes.
A big part of our jobs outside of working at WPSD is to get to local schools and talk to students about weather safety and preparedness.
We do dozens of these talks each year. There's one that I'll always remember, as it became a big part of my story of covering last year's tornado. And I recently got a chance to go back and visit with some of those students and staff members. It's right on track. We said about 927, 928.
I go to look at it and I see like the maps is shaded with like some, I don't remember what it said, something like a large and destructive tornado.
It is a catastrophic tornado. This is the strongest tornado that I have seen in my time here in nearly 15 years.
As I was on air covering the storm that night, these are the faces of the people I was thinking about. 6th graders from Central Elementary in Mayfield. After a couple of missed emails with teacher Allie Gonzalez, and perhaps through a little divine intervention, I had my yearly visit to talk weather with her students on December 9th, 2021, the day before the tornado.
This is actually the weather map that I showed in this room last year.
Honestly, that was, to me, that's kind of like a God wink.
It was perfect timing to remind students to talk to their families about their severe weather plan.
My cousin lives like 5 minutes away and she has a basement, so we just always have like, if there's gonna be a tornado or something, we just go to her house.
But knowing these students were in the path of a monster that night, it was hard to keep my composure on air.
As soon as I saw like the expression on your face, I'm like, this is gonna be bad.
Lives are being changed right now. Send some prayers for folks that are dealing with this right now.
For all of us thinking about those students, it was a helpless feeling to know what was happening as the storm approached. That included school principal Stephen Queen.
We see the track, we know it's coming this direction, we know it's coming towards, you know, where our students live, where our faculty lives.
But there was a little peace of mind knowing that those families had a plan.
You want to be on the lowest level of your home, right?
And it kind of eased my mind too to, in that moment I went through, this is what this kid said their plan was, this is what this kid said their plan was, they're hopefully safe.
Thankfully, none of those 6th graders were hurt, but 2 lost their homes that night.
So we had just built a house and we got done painting the day before. So like when you came to visit, we just got finished and then it pulled the back wall off and sucked our furniture out of the living room.
The morning after the storm, Mr. Queen went out to check on people from the school and couldn't believe how bad it was.
I made the curve on the bypass and I'm going around and like I make that curve and it's like, I see it and no words, just, well, kind of like I'm doing now, just crying because you don't really understand.
But for as bad as it was, there was help on the way. Supplies from people and organizations from all over poured into the community and the school, including the very room where I met those students a week earlier. Our people showed what it looks like to love your neighbors.
It was amazing because it was around Christmas time to really see people be in the hands and feet of Jesus, which is what we're supposed to be doing every day of our lives anyway, but just the response that people had in that time was, I mean, really humbling.
That visit really did have a big impact on me that night. It put faces to the people that I knew were going to be impacted by the storm and made covering it personal. And then to see their community response in the day after, it gave me hope to know that we were going to get through this.
We all hope we never see anything like this ever again. And while this tornado was exceptionally rare, recent trends do show that environments like the one we had in December last year may be more common as we go into the future. Most of us think of Tornado Alley as a region from Texas up the Great Plains to the Dakotas west of our area. But in reality, since 1950, tornadoes have occurred across the majority of the eastern United States, not just in Tornado Alley. Every red line on here is a tornado track. Notice lots outside of the Great Plains, including many around the Local 6 area, which begs the question, has Tornado Alley moved? Now remember that tornadoes require has to be both, a blend of wind energy and instability. And it's not the wind that's changing, it's the amount of fuel and instability. Check out the results of this study showing the change in days per year with the ingredients needed for tornadoes to form. A clear increase in the red colors and decrease in the blue colors out across the Great Plains. In the 1960s and 70s, the United States averaged less than 1 day per year with a major tornado outbreak. In the most recent decade, that average is nearly 3 days per year. So why the dramatic increase? It appears that drought in the West and overall climate change are both playing a role. This chart shows the days per year with enough storm fuel, just storm fuel, needed to get tornadoes to form. The brown represents a decrease, and the purple colors an increase. The purple is coming from increasing moisture from warmer and warmer temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico. This is leading to an increase in the number of days per year with enough fuel for tornadoes. And this is one of the main factors that contributed to the December 10th outbreak last year and could mean more frequent setups for severe weather in our area during the cooler months. Of all the seasons, winter is by far warming at the fastest rate for most of the eastern United States. Perspective, the blue dots on this map indicate where winter is the fastest warming season. Now in the Local 6 area, the average temperature for the winter has jumped a whopping 4 degrees since 1970. It doesn't sound like much, but it is quite significant. I spoke with PhD meteorologist and professional storm chaser Reed Timmer for more on this.
It does seem like these outbreaks are happening more frequently during the winter. Is that part of a systematic trend with global warming? It would make sense because during the wintertime, when you have a warmer Gulf of Mexico, you can have that surface-based instability in a large warm sector, and you have the powerful upper level troughs that happen during the powerful jet stream of the winter. So it would definitely make sense that global warming would increase the occurrence of tornadoes during winter.
In conclusion, the best available studies and research done so far tells us climate change is leading to an increasing number of favorable environments for tornadoes, especially in our area. Those more favorable environments are most likely to be seen in the cold season. Major warming trends in the Gulf of Mexico, probably the biggest contributor to that increase of more favorable environments in the mid to deep south. Now, it should be noted, more research does need to be done to determine how much our old definition of Tornado Alley may indeed be changing, but these trends show a good reminder of how important it is to stay prepared for severe weather any time of the year.
Thanks, Noah. We've also seen over this past year the spirit of unity remains strong.
Next, why this tree represents hope during a time of uncertainty.
And with that, it's officially Christmas in the city of Mayfield.
The community got together a few weeks ago to kick off the holiday and look back on a year that was unlike any other. To most of you watching at home, this is just your typical artificial Christmas tree. Fake, plastic, maybe a bit boring.
But as Local 6's Brianna Clark shows us, to folks in Mayfield, this tree represents hope during a time of uncertainty.
Ready? Got it.
If at first you don't succeed,
coming down, okay.
Take it down and try again.
Good job. It was a puzzle. Trying to figure out where the pieces went, how they went back together.
1 year later, William Higginson says it's still a giant puzzle.
Got it, Scott. Whoop, take it down.
But worth the hassle. Put these pieces together and eventually you get a Christmas tree.
What do you need, Ricky? We're bent right here.
Broken, battered, and bruised.
I'll hold this.
But still standing. When the tornado hit on December 10th, 2021, this Christmas tree, just like everything else, was tossed, twisted, and torn apart.
At that time, we had no idea what to look forward to. We had no idea what it was going to look like.
Then, a glimmer of hope. all the way from Ohio.
And they just came in and said, what can we do to help? And so they just started helping.
The small group of first responders set out on a big mission. Find the pieces to this puzzle and put it back together.
Well, when y'all was putting it together, I mean, were the panels still on it, or were they off of it?
No, man. It was kind of fun. It was kind of funny to watch. But I mean, they fixed that golf cart up. They found some of the pieces over there on Ann Street.
Yeah.
Some of them down there on West or East South Street, North 4th Street. I mean, they found pieces everywhere.
A simple gesture with a lasting impact.
The guys started, and we all started putting it together, putting the lights on it. I mean, finding all the pieces. It just showed what Mayfield can do.
They look like little elves coming out.
Well, I just wanted to let you know, I'm kind of getting a little choked up. The tree is up.
Awesome.
It is up, and I'm talking to Tim. I had to call him.
Hey,
yep.
Tim.
Hey, Tim.
That's one of the guys from Ohio.
We wouldn't be standing here right now if it wasn't for you guys. You know, this tree doesn't look like it did when it went up this time last year, but it looks just like us. It's been through the tornado, but by golly, it's still here and standing, and we are just so thankful.
Signs of the tornado still linger. But now, there are also signs of progress.
It means that Mayfield is still standing. Mayfield's going to come back.
This area is resilient and the spirit of unity remains strong.
This hour-long special represents a year's worth of recovery in these communities.
But the work is just getting started. In mere minutes, lives change forever.
And we'll continue to follow along in the rebuilding process every step of the way. Have a good night.